What is a MOOC? Well, MOOC is an acronym for Massive Open Online Course. These courses are offered by a variety of platforms such as Coursera, edX, Udacity, and more, and can reach people around the world, anyone who has access to internet. These platforms usually offer the courses with the goal of providing a method for higher education for those who cannot necessarily pursue one through traditional methods. Sometimes these courses are free, but more recently, platforms have begun to charge for their services. During our time here at Bass Connections, each of us pursued an independent research question in order to investigate the potential impact and sustainability of MOOCs.
When deciding what to do for my project, I noticed how well MOOCs could help university students. If there was an online course offered that a student's university would offer for credit, then students could finish their degree faster or would actually have time to take classes just for pure enjoyment. Additionally, from my own experience, students could use these online courses to aid in a class they're currently enrolled in at their university, such as when many of you may have used Khan Academy before a big exam. Therefore, for my project, I wanted to look at whether or not the motivation for enrolling in these online courses were different between university students and non-students. I created an IRB protocol, fashioned a survey, and sent that survey out to 14 Coursera courses through Duke, asking whether or not they were a student, why they took the course, and how their course interacted with their current education, and I received almost 10,000 responses. Now, I'm currently in the data analysis phase, but right now it's looking like there is a difference in the motivations between enrolling and motivations of enrolling between students and non-students, both working and non-working. For students in red, we see that there's a clear bias towards the university motivations, whereas in green, for the non-working participants, they cited mostly just for fun why they took the course. If you look at the employed in blue, you notice it's kind of mixed between just for fun and for career development.
My project looked at a range of online course platforms around the world. Starting with 140 potential sites were considered platforms offering MOOCs of interest if they offered at least one course in English and at least 5 courses total. They also had to offer formatted courses, so students had the option of enrolling in order to complete assignments or assessments, to distinguish from sites simply linking to YouTube videos or online textbooks. Finally, these courses had to be accessible both in terms of enrollment, to exclude platforms requiring applications to start a course, and fee. So some sites required at least $500 to take a course, but were still listed as MOOCs, and I decided not to include those in the study. From these criteria, 55 were selected as platforms of interest. Once I made this list, my research question was, if these courses are free and or are affordable and often free for students, how are the platforms funded? Each of my platforms was classified into one of 3 categories. First, some were not-for-profit, so these were funded through the government or outside donors. Others were branches of larger organizations, so they promoted the larger organization as a whole, even if they were not profitable alone. Finally, there were independent commercial businesses, so these had to make enough money to be self-sustained. They could do this by charging for the course itself, by charging for access to a course through a subscription, or by charging for a certificate of accomplishment or completion. But how much can these platforms charge without posing significant barriers to education or without driving customers away? Is this enough to sustain the businesses? These factors will affect the viability of MOOCs moving forward.
Speaking of MOOCs moving forward, where do we expect MOOCs to go from here? Many have hypothesized that MOOCs would take over the education industry, providing access to free education and career skills, eventually putting universities out of business. Why take a course when you can spend thousands of dollars and hours commuting when you can take the same course online from the comfort of your own living room? However, even though that sounds ideal, there are some problems with MOOCs that have prevented this from happening, such as loss of face-to-face interaction that traditional in-person universities offer and being unable to account for cheating in the online courses. But this provides an opportunity for universities and MOOCs to join together and educate the world. And some universities have already begun doing that by offering online degree programs at a reduced cost, such as Georgia Tech's online Masters of Computer Science program. So when you take into account the financial state of most MOOCs and the motivations for enrolling, a partnership with universities is a much more likely future for MOOCs, a path that is likely to both be sustainable and broaden the educational opportunities for everyone.